Now, with those modules in the back of your mind, we now move on to an illustration of the first three things to think about in survival. And in most cases, it's only these three things that you really, as a business owner, need to focus on. The problem with this is that if you have a good cash flow in your business, cash is like oxygen. The only time you miss oxygen is when you don't have it. The only time that you worry about cash is when you don't have it. Just about every company that you can think of typically will have cash flow challenges at some point in their growth, and often they will have them every few years. Cash is like water. It flows. It doesn't stay still. And so the cash flow issues that you have as a smaller business are not unlike the cash flow issues that larger companies have. However, as a smaller business, you have fewer options often to deal with the cash flow problem. So the model here we illustrate is the fellow in a canoe essentially only has three elements to his canoe or his boat. He has the need for cash to survive. He has the need to change direction because in this case, he's in the water and, he has a leaking boat. If you can see the little sprouts of water coming up the boat. And so he needs to look at a change of direction. And he also needs to look at what we call early adopters. The people that got you into a problem are seldom the people that get you out of a problem. So invariably, you're going to need new customers, you're going to need new suppliers, and you're going to probably need new employees. So your network that has kept you going for years as business as usual is going to become more of a liability in many cases than an asset. This is the opposite of what happens when we go into most companies. Most companies have only talked to their existing customers. They've only talked to the existing shareholders or the existing employees. They've not reached out to anybody new to find out new information and new ideas. So let's talk a little bit more about cash. We have a favorite saying in the consulting world: the problem is not the problem. When somebody calls you in to solve a problem, they're usually giving you the symptoms. Doctors know this. Well, I have a sore back. Give me something for my back. Well, your sore back may be because of something else. It may be the way you walk. It may be something else that has triggered that. It's the same in any professional environment. So a good consultant in the finance world will listen politely when you say, this is the problem. And then they will have the request that they get a chance to diagnose and verify that that really is the problem. So the first time people call us, it's usually, I need cash. Can you get me some cash? I've got cash flow problems. Invariably, they're in what we call a vicious circle. They've overdrawn from the bank, so they can't get any more money from the bank. They have a whole lot of suppliers they haven't paid. They haven't paid the tax man for a while. They've been using the source deductions to cover their costs. They haven't been very profitable. They've been offering discounts to customers to try and keep them, and it's eroded their profitability. They don't have a lot of receivables that they can contact people and say, please pay this invoice. They've kept too many employees on for too long, and they're essentially trying to meet the payroll and often are asking employees not to work without being paid. And so you have this vicious circle. We often call this the drowning man syndrome. If you've ever been trained as a lifeguard, you know, one of the first things you got to do when you go to save somebody who's drowning is make sure you don't drown yourself. The challenge that you face is that when a business owner calls you, they typically want, give me money, I need money. What they're saying to you is they want money to do business as usual. They haven't got to the case of, it's not business as usual, I have to do something completely different. One of the first objectives is to try and figure out how you can help them get through this, I want cash to do business as normal, to how can I shrink the business to fit within my existing cash flow. When we analyze a business that is having a problem, it's a bit like a leaky bucket. We look at how many taps are pouring water or money into the bucket, which is your business, and how many different holes there in the bucket that water is pouring out of. Essentially, we're trying to do two things: get more water or money into the bucket and to plug the holes so less money goes out of the bucket. We need to stop the bleeding. In other words, hoard as much cash as you can. What happens is you usually have the rebuttal from the business owner saying, well, these are really key suppliers. If I don't pay them, they'll never do business with me. If I lay off these staff, they may go away. I'll never get them back. I've got customers that want deposits back, even though they signed that if they gave me a deposit, they could never get it back. I feel sorry for them. Well, what happens here, it's no longer business as usual. You have got to look after number one first. There is no easy answer. This is tough. This is where you've got to get anybody that could give you money, get it in the door, and anybody you owe money, try and avoid paying them or pay them as little as possible.